I gotta vent here for a minute. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Salty Flyer here, you are there. Let's get after it. So we're talking about venting, breathing, if you will. And you're gonna say, Salty, you good-looking ne'er-do-well, I've got a high flow intake. I've got a bitchin' exhaust. My bike breathes. And you would be correct. However, what about your crankcase? Aha. So your crankshaft spins around in your crankcase, goes really, really fast. 1,500 to 4,000, 5,000 RPM, depending on how you ride. It's in an oil bath. It's a hellstorm in there. It's what spins to make the bike go. And it creates, it's like a big air pump in there. It creates pressure, and it is in that oil bath, it's in the sump, it vaporizes some oil. So there's hot, oily, pressurized air. Normally you gotta pay extra for that kind of action. So if you don't want it to vent somewhere uncontrolled, like opening up the dipstick and getting blasted in the face with hot oil, it's gotta vent it somewhere. So drill a hole, call it a day. No, unfortunately, the Environmental Protection Agency, represented by this man.
I'm Walter Peck. I represent the Environmental Protection Agency, the 3rd District.
Takes a very dim view of oil going anywhere. And I get it. I like polar bears as much as the next guy. So they presented Harley-Davidson with a really kind of crappy solution. The solution is that hot, oily air gets vented straight back into your intake to get burned up in your engine. The oil gets burned up with the fuel and it goes away, and polar bears are happy and they go on to make Coke commercials. How does it do it? 2 different ways that I know of. On the twin cams and the first generation of M8s, you have things called breather bolts. You may have noticed this if you've ever taken your airbox off. The airbox, their air intake, is actually held to the manifold by hollow bolts that you can pass through. They're passed through to channels in the engine that allow the crankcase to vent through there directly into your throttle body, and there you go. On the newer bikes, so specifically the 24 and up touring models, like I have behind me here, they do it a little slicker. There is a hose, so the transmission top cover is vented. Those bolts are solid. They're not hollow anymore. And the transmission top cover is vented, which covers the transmission and part of the bottom of the crankcase. It actually covers kind of both parts of that. And that's where it's vented. It has a little spout on top of it. And then a hose is run up to a hose barb on the airbox. So this is my stock airbox that I've taken off of the original bike. You can see this is where it mounts up to the throttle body. And this little fella right here, if you can see that little hose barb is where the hose attached to for breathing into it. The new one is a Harley-Davidson part. It's the Scream Eagle Extreme Heavy Breather. It also has the same piece. It's metal this time. In fact, if you remember, there was a recall on the touring bikes coming back a couple of 3-4 months ago, and that was based off of that piece on the stock airbox maybe not being manufactured correctly, thus causing there to be a blockage and the explosive depressurization of your crankcase through your dipstick. Anywho, smart people smarter than me, have said that is putting hot, oily air into your airbox the smartest thing? No. There's videos or there's imagery out there on the internet, believe it at whatever face value you take it, but of people taking the heads off of bikes to do head work and seeing that the tops of their pistons are gunked up. I know when I spoke to the service tech at my dealership about that recall, just saying, hey, could you just sign it off since I don't even have that part of the bike anymore? He had said that that specific airbox, just because of the shape, the way it's mounted up, actually you could see it here, there was a really good spot. This is where the air comes in through this side, goes through the filter, and then goes into the bike this way. There's a big old void down here that he was saying if you're doing a long cruise, at a nice, easy, steady throttle, oil could collect there, and then when you get on it, vacuum happens, and it was sucking oil in. It's just not good. So we're gonna get rid of it. We're gonna fix it. So how do you fix it? Well, you gotta get it to vent somewhere. So there's a thing you've heard of called a catch can, or in this case, a catch filter basket, whatever. I got a kit from DK Customs. You could absolutely shade tree mechanic this thing if you wanted to. I just didn't because I was lazy and I bought it. In fact, I bought this a while ago and forgot about it. It was sitting in the shop and I finally picked up that box like, oh, this is what that is. So let's take a look at what comes with it. So it's pretty simple. We'll show you it for the Gen 2 M8s and then we'll talk briefly about what, if you don't have one of these bikes, what are some of your options. So in there you get this, which is a replacement hose. And we'll show you the hose. You've already seen the hose a little bit earlier, but we'll show you again as we're taking it off. Replacement length of hose. You also have some hose clamps, a bunch of zip ties, and a little cover for that hose barb. And then this is what I'm going to install. This, I'll take it out of the box here in a second. This is it's a filter. So what's that gonna do? It's gonna let the air vent out of it, and then the oil's just gonna stay in it. And at some point you'd have to take this off and potentially clean it, I guess. They do make catch cans, which are just literally what they say. It's a little filtered thing like this and a can, you take that out and you dump out responsibly and ethically. You dump out whatever oil is there and you're on about your business. So we're gonna get to installing this thing. I promised you I'd talk about the earlier bikes. So super quick, I'll put a link to some other kits. It's a little bit more involved if you want to do it. The bulk of what I have seen has been that going away from those breather bolts entirely. So either plugging them somehow or replacing them with non-breather bolts, just solid bolts that'll hold your airbox on. Now you need the venting. Going and either making your transmission cover like the Harley stock piece or buying one. So Trask Performance does make a vented transmission top cover, at least for the M8, the Gen 1 M8 motors, which is a direct bolt-on replacement. In fact, some people are putting it on the newer motors because it is a metal piece, vice what's on the bike right now, which is ABS plastic. So if you want more metal, that's a way to do it. Other folks are literally drilling that out and tapping it and putting on their own part to run a hose. Then it's largely the same as what we're gonna do here. But you gotta vent it, because if you don't, it's gonna make trouble, and you gotta block up the other way. So that's what that little nubbin is for, we'll talk about. You don't want the ability to have stuff get in behind your air filter and just go directly down your intake. Is it a small hole? Yeah, it's a small hole, but why take the risk? All right, so let's get this stuff unpackaged and we'll take a look-see at what's going on the bike. All right, so here we are down on the side of the bike. So if we look in here, you can see this is the hose. This guy right here is the hose we're talking about. So I think, I'm gonna look in the box, but I think that's the same diameter as the hose that they gave us. And if you follow it here, I'll see if you can trace it with my finger, goes along, and then right here, this little nubbin right here, that guy, is you can see where that's attached. So my plan is going to be to push that hose off of that barb and cover it, and then see if I can't thread it back and mount it up. Because here, you have to figure out where you're gonna mount that catch can to. And you can see there's some good real estate up along the frame here that I could zip tie it to and have it be out of the way. Whereas there's nothing really on the forward piece there. There's the back of the cylinder and then the exhaust heat shielding. None of those are things you want to be bolting stuff up to. So let's see if we can pop this hose off and then route it back. Okay, so with a flathead screwdriver and some gentle persuasion, I got the hose off of the transmission top box, and I can tell you that there's already some grossness that came out. There's like definitely, you can smell oil in it, and there's some water, so there's condensation in it. So just, we're shooting, it's nothing you want going into your engine. So here's that hose. You can see there's a piece of, oh look, you can see it's dripping on the floor. There's that transmission top cover. So I'm gonna see if I can't test fit the new thing to this hose piece. If it fits, I don't really wanna mess with changing the hose. Then I'll probably get some kind of razor blade, trim it, and then we'll just worry about finding a clean mounting for it. So let me get that thing fitted on and see how that fits. Okay. So that absolutely does fit. You can see here the routing, it's way out here. I'm gonna trim off a few inches of this hose. Of note, there is, you can see there's a worm gear hose clamp on here holding the fitting together with this. That is, I'm assuming that's going to be the piece that you can loosen to take this off if you want to clean it. I'm going to put a second hose clamp, it came with them, onto the barb fitting here just to snug that guy down and then trim it. I'm thinking that I'm going to run it along here and mount it up somewhere in this space here with a zip tie there just to get it zip tied up and out of the way. So let me go get that guy trimmed up and we'll get right back at it. It is now trimmed, and you can see hose clamped on at the top and bottom, and those are tightened down. So my next step is going to be push this guy back, just kind of tuck him out of the way, making sure the hose is clear of everything, and then just use some wire ties to wire tie that, or zip tie, whatever you want to call it, to the frame back in there, and I think we're job done. Of note, not on camera, in there, in that little nubbin, there's a cap. So the hose barb on the stock airbox is actually longer than the one on, it's plastic, than the one on the Screaming Eagle, which is metal. So there's a little excess, but the instructions say to take the entire air cleaner off. If you've ever seen my video on putting this thing on, there's at least 3 bolts on here that make you question all of your life choices trying to take them on and off. So I didn't. I was able to get in there with my fingers and work it. With my short, stubby, fat fingers, if you have someone that's got some like Nosferatu-like fingers, you know, long, real long, skinny ones, it'll be a lot easier. That's only for the Screaming Eagle heavy breather. If you got a wedge or if you're on the stocker, it's probably a lot different. So the instructions say take the airbox off, do what you gotta do. So I'm gonna get that guy zip tied up and we'll call this one complete. So there you have it. Looks like it's in there. Of note, the hose is not touching anything. You can see some air gap there. I may play with some more zip ties to get it kind of where I want it, but it's tucked in there. A little bit of play in it so I can get at the can if I need to replace it, but pretty much done. That's a pretty easy one. All right, so that one's pretty straightforward. Like, that's not really hard. Really more of a fact of kind of video than necessarily an install video. Link below for DK Customs. I will have a link in there, not sponsored by them, but I will have a link to their website if you want to buy the kit that I put on, or figure it out. Actually, talk about it in the comments below if you think you have a different system that you put on there, or you're thinking about doing DIY, because I'm always fascinated to hear how people do DIY stuff, and if they can do something slicker or smarter, save you some money. But that's it, really easy, really straightforward. Thanks for sticking around for this video. If you liked it, please just click that thumbs up button. It juices the algorithm. It lets people know you like it. It helps people find the channel. If you really like this kind of stuff and like seeing this smiling mug hollering at you about motorcycle things, then absolutely hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything, and it'll let you know that anytime we make a new video. If you really, really, really liked it and you want to buy me a cup of coffee or something, there's a super thanks button there. It's that little heart deal. Hit that thing and you can do whatever you want. Obviously, no obligation. We do this for the love of the game. But that's it, fun friends. So keep your head on a swivel, be safe out there, and until I see you next time, Salty Flyer. Peace.